Hello and welcome to this Introduction to Wellness Coaching video. I'm Claire Snowden-Darling,
I'm Laura Knowles.
and we are very excited to go through with you some of the frequently asked questions we get in relation to this training.
So today's webinar, if you are here and watching this, then you are potentially interested in studying the wellness diploma or the menopause diploma. And this webinar is designed to answer all your questions, help with your decision making, but also give you an idea of what it's like to study with us, as well as meet us. Hello.
Hello.
Who are we? Who are we?
So let's talk about what the college is first. So the College of Functional Wellness is the college that Laura and I started. We offer accredited training in functional wellness, nutrition and coaching, and the menopause coaching comes under the functional wellness bracket. Our work is developed from our research, our clinical experience, and our own journeys of ill health. And we both have the experience of being let down by both the medical and the holistic model. And through our process and also teaching a variety of modalities for other colleges, we realized that there was a really big gap in knowledge in what's being taught. So we decided to fix that. Our work includes a lot of unique intellectual property, including the triangle of hormonal health, the stages of wellness, and what we refer to as the 6 pillars, which is blood sugars, stress, hormones, digestion, the immune system, and emotional transformation. And our work looks at how all of these things combine to create the symptoms that we're seeing in the world today. So is there a demand for coaches? Well, we could look at this from 2 different ways. The first is this medical aspect. We are seeing a huge chronic health issue across the globe. I mean, we're going to talk here a little bit about the UK. We do have coaches in all different countries, but we're mostly seeing the same things with a few changes throughout the whole world. So in the UK, more than 15 million people have a long-term health condition. And the most common things that we're starting to see are anything that sits within the metabolic syndrome banner. It is estimated that there are around 13 million people who are currently peri or menopausal in the UK alone. And the medical model does not work with perimenopause. So that's something that's really important to understand, is that the current approach, not even just in the UK, around the world, does not take into consideration perimenopause, which means that we have got millions and millions and millions of people who are going through peri to postmenopause transition, who are totally unsupported by the current system. On top of that, our healthcare systems are struggling. The approach that is often given to either peri to postmenopause transition or general hormone issues is the prolific use of synthetic hormones such as the pill or synthetic HRTs. We have got an issue across the globe with the high use of pesticides and ultra processed foods. So this is where our seed oils and refined carbohydrates are causing major issues in the human body. And coaches are no longer a nice to have, they are essential. But let's name the fact that we are often a last resort for many. So that's the medical kind of view that I want to look at. And then there is a slightly more esoteric view that I am quite passionate about talking about. We call it Claire's clarion call, because it is just this realization that I had years ago that because of everything that is on this screen, we have got more and more and more people not being served by the current medical approach, but they're also not being served by the current holistic approach. This is where I go back to that Laura and I both felt very let down by the holistic approach. So we both trained in a variety of modalities, nutrition, kinesiology, all of these amazing cutting edge modalities. And yet so much of what was being taught was completely out of alignment with cutting edge nutritional research. And so this understanding that we have got to have a group of frontline coaches who are dealing with the issues that no one else can deal with, because actually the more and more we have dived into this work and delved deeper, we realize that it's not just that the healthcare system is struggling, it's that usually the doctors aren't even trained in a lot of these issues. They don't understand the connection between diet, things like high blood pressure. They're not talking about it. They talk about salt. I'm not even going to go into salt. It's not salt. Salt's not the issue. But they're focusing on the wrong things repeatedly. We see it over and over again. And then the sticking plasters that are put on the issues are actually causing more problems. But the problem is that then someone has been medicated, or they have been served in the way that they can be served with this outdated system, and that's all that they've got. And so we see time and time again people put on unnecessary medications. Some medications are very necessary. Just going to say that we are not black and white about this in any shape or form, and believe that medicine absolutely has a place, as does surgery. But there are also a lot of unnecessary surgeries. And when we understand really the bits of information and the pieces of the jigsaw that the medical model are missing and why they're missing them, that's where these frontline coaches really have an opportunity to make dramatic change, not just for every single person that they meet in their clinic along the way, but actually with this change in knowledge, we are ultimately pushing back against a system which is very slow to change and causing damage. I'm deeply passionate. The Hippocratic Oath states, first, do no harm. But what we are seeing at the coalface is harm being done because of the outdated approach. So yes, there is a demand for coaches. And we feel very often that no matter how much we gear up our businesses, it's like sticking our finger in a dam, because there are just more and more and more people realizing that they are feeling worse on the current approaches, or they've been working with a nutritionist. I can't even tell you how many times I have had clients work with nutritionists, homeopaths, naturopaths, where those practitioners actually say, I don't know what to do with you. And so the last resort is they end up finding us, and then everything starts to make sense. So yes, there is a demand. You are so needed. The world is in a place where I just can't express it plainly enough. We have to be doing this work.
So it's a fascinating industry to work in. One of the great things about working in nutritional and hormonal health is that it evolves quickly. That has its strengths and also its weaknesses, because we as a college need to keep up to date with all of the different new science that is coming. And we feel that it is very, very important to keep updated with it. And it's something that we teach our students, is where to go and get this data and where to keep in touch with all of this new information. Because as you become a coach, you're going to be able to need to get hold of this information. And like Claire said, we are seeing that alternative health practitioners just don't have the tools to deal with the issues that clients are facing. When we were originally in clinic 15, 20 years ago,
Bajillion years ago,
our clients were ill. They were ill, yeah. And we were surprised at what we were having to deal with. And I remember feeling quite overwhelmed of not knowing what to do with some of the issues that clients were presenting. 20 years later, it's even worse. It's something we're deeply passionate about is empowering our coaches to feel confident that whatever comes into their clinic, they can work with.
That was actually the purpose of us writing these courses, right? Was like we felt unprepared,
unequipped. Yeah, absolutely. We're also seeing that regulation and standards within the alternative health industry is changing, and it is something that we really welcome. Again, 20 years ago, it was a bit like the Wild Wild West, and we could do and say anything that we wanted to. And I'm delighted that regulation and standards is coming in, because I think 20 years ago, we weren't considered as a serious alternative. And now that we are seeing so many millions of people turning to alternative therapies, that the industry is recognizing that regulations and standards need to be put in place. And we take this very seriously. Our courses are regulated to the highest standards within our industry. And that is also very important. When you are doing research looking into studying in this, you need to make sure that your standards are high and that they are accredited. It's one of the first questions you want to be asking a college. We are seeing an explosion of mini coaching courses online, and they are often 5 hours, 10 hours long. You learn a little bit about hormones, or maybe a little bit about estrogen. Everybody wants to learn about estrogen, but you don't learn actually what is going on in the body. You don't learn the biology of what is happening. And these mini coaching courses don't fully equip practitioners to be able to cover whole health solutions, which is something that we are deeply passionate about doing. In the past, like I've said, we were very much diminished by the medical model and almost ignored. And now that is really starting to change. And like Claire said earlier, we don't bash the medical model. We see where the medical model can really fit, and we can see how we can fit where our scope of practice is and where their scope of practice is. And this is very much something that we teach our students, is to understand what we can and can't do and what the doctors can and can't do. And so this is really offering clients this whole health approach so that they know where they can go for solutions.
Yeah, and I just want to speak to that a little bit, because I know a lot of people who get into the coaching world often feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. And I just want to speak to that for a moment, because when we first started out, it was very, we were talked a little bit about like we were charlatans, or doctors would often mock us. And actually what's happened is, because we now have such an understanding of our scope of practice, because we are actually calling out the medical model for their gaps in knowledge, for the treatments that some of the things that they do are off license, then they're not actually the solutions to people's problems at all. They're just trying to find something to work. We understand that that's not the doctor's fault. It's actually the way that the practitioners are expected to work under the system. Because we are really clear at naming this issue and are very clear about our scope of practice, and because we are calling for better from both our industry and from the medical model, what's happened is we have started to attract the open-minded doctors who actually are on board with what we're talking about, are excited by what we're talking about, and who are very able to admit where their gaps are. And so what I want to just speak to is, it is also very common to find the practitioners who are not open-minded and very shut down, and then are quite mocking and can really feed that imposter syndrome. But what I wanted to say is that they are not the people to listen to. It's just because I actually feel very deeply that doctors who have trained in a system, I know many, and that there is a point often in their career where they go, this isn't what I thought it was, and this is now a system that I am bound into. And so coming with this huge amount of compassion, but not allowing that to have imposter syndrome, because what we do isn't less than, it's just a different part of the jigsaw where the medical model absolutely fits. But now is the time for us to have confidence in what we're learning, because it's the meshing of both of these approaches that will ultimately be what truly helps.
And what we're excited about is this emerging opportunity. This is really where we are unique, where we are seeing the interplay between the nervous system, the endocrine, and the gut, And this relationship is really not worked with. It's an oversight in the medical model, because if you have a gut issue, you will go and see a gastroenterologist. If you have an endocrine issue, you'll go and see an endocrinologist. The gut is so governed by hormones. There is such a crossover, and yet the gastro is not trained in working with hormones. And so what we can offer is this education for our students and for their clients about how the nervous system and the endocrine absolutely feeds into the gut, and how the gut absolutely feeds into the nervous system and the endocrine, and how we need to be looking at this complete picture if we're able to help people. So you are probably looking at lots of different colleges to try and make a decision about who to study with. And choosing an education provider is very important. And I really recommend that you do your research, because it is an important decision to make. If you decide that you want to go down an academic route, that is doing a degree or doing a master's, we offer a diploma, which is much more practical in nature. So a good example of this is we don't have exams as part of our diplomas. We have quizzes as you go along to be able to help your learning, but our course is all coursework based. So the questions that you want to be asking your college is what accreditations they have. Who are their governing body? Now, we have a number of different governing bodies because we are internationally accredited. So we have a governing body here in the UK, and we've got a governing body internationally. You also want to be asking, can I get insurance? Who is your insurers? How much is a practitioner insurance? And what are the standards that that college needs to reach to be able to get those accreditations? You want to be asking about the duration and the flexibility of the course. How long is it going to take? How flexible is it? It's something that we are proud of, that our course is incredibly flexible and comprehensive. So we have a number of students who have full-time jobs or are full-time parents and need a course that is going to be able to fit around their lives. Ask about the content. Is it purely coaching that you're looking for? Is it purely nutrition that you're looking for? Is it a combination of both? I think where we really sit is that we have the coaching, we have the nutrition, and we layer it in with the hormone work. So it is this complete package. Does it give you a clear pathway of how to work with different client issues? Like Claire was talking about earlier, the training that we had previously, there was not a clear pathway. There was a toolkit of loads of different approaches, and you had to kind of guess what you were doing with each client, which was quite stressful. Whereas with our training, there is a clear pathway. You work in stages, and that is important. And we have reasons behind those stages, that if there is one stage that you have not got in place, then you can't get to the next stage, because that will never come online. So be asking those questions. What are the processes and the pathways that are involved in the training? Does your education provider teach you how to run a clinic or a health business? This is another module that is part of our diploma. And it is important, if you are going to go into clinic, that you feel confident that you know how to promote a business. Ask about faculty and tutor support. So one of the feedbacks that I get from a lot of inquiries is that people have studied other courses but felt very, very isolated and weren't able to speak to a faculty, weren't able to speak to a tutor, felt that it was just an online training, had questions, couldn't get them answered. Within our training, there is a faculty, there is a student manager, there is tutor support, there are opportunities to come into classrooms and have those questions and answers given. Are there live classrooms? Another thing with online training is that there tends to be a lot of recordings. Ask about live classrooms. We have live classrooms as part of our diplomas, so that it's interactive, and because we understand this is how students learn, that they want to be able to practice and to be able to get the support from a teacher and to have other students to work with. So that's an important question. Is there a community of peers? we offer the opportunity when students first join our diploma courses, they get buddied up with another student, and when you come into classrooms you start to make friends, and we also encourage that people who live close to each other, they get together for study groups. I think this is really important, especially if you are looking at online training, and ask about postgraduate support and opportunities. Once you've qualified, how does the education provider work with you? Is it a kind of shut door, you've qualified, off you go, or is there an opportunity so you can still get that support? Working in this kind of industry, we recognize that the first couple of years, even 3 years of being a postgrad, it's such a huge learning curve, and it can really, really help to know that you can come back and get support from the college that you trained with. So our offerings, we offer 2 diplomas in wellness. We've got the functional wellness diploma and we've got the menopause wellness diploma. And this is a question that I get a lot. What is the difference between the functional wellness and the menopause wellness? The functional wellness is a general hormone course. It covers everything. It covers all genders. It covers all life stages. It is, you can work, we cover things like puberty, fertility, post natal, menopause, perimenopause. We cover men's health. It's everybody. It's a very generalized, if you want to understand the whole scope. When you're doing,
can I just say, it's within our 6 pillars. So we look at blood sugar hormones, we're looking at stress, the effects of cortisol. We talk about the whole thing around adrenal fatigue. What is that? Everyone's talking about it. Obviously, blood sugar regulation. We look at different diets. We're looking at those sex hormones, as Laura said. We then go into digestion, the gut microbiome. We are literally small intestine bacterial overgrowth, all the sexy stuff. Never thought those things would go in a sentence together. Plus immune. What is like going on in the immune system? What is autoimmune? What are these things? Because we hear about them so much. That's what we go into in the general diploma.
In the menopause diploma, we still go into all of those juicy bits. We still look at blood sugars and stress and digestion and hormones and the whole kit and caboodle. But the diploma is focused on a category of person, which is that perimenopause to postmenopause stage. And so that is reflected in the case studies you do. So if you were studying a functional wellness diploma, you can see pretty much anybody. If you were studying the menopause wellness diploma, you would be seeing perimenopause, menopause, postmenopausal clients. Your book reviews, your project, it will be much more focused. If you were doing the functional wellness diploma, you can still have perimenopausal case studies. You can still do a book review on a perimenopause subject, but it's more general. We have 2 offerings. This is another question that I get a lot, is should I study the UK diploma, which is 450 hours, or should I study the international diploma, which is 700 hours? This is all dependent on where you live, where your address is, because this is about your insurance as a coach, not about the clients that you're going to see. So if you are based in the UK, you can study the 450-hour diploma and get insurance to see clients from around the world. It's dependent on where you live. If you are outside of the UK, there are different standards, there are different regulations. It means that you have to study more hours to be able to get your insurance and to be able to get this qualification. So you would need to study 700 hours. If you are a British citizen and you are looking at moving abroad and your residence is going to be abroad, then yes, you are going to go for the international diploma. If you're living in the UK and you're thinking about moving abroad, say in 2 or 3 years' time, you can start with the UK diploma and upgrade at a later date. That is really easy to do. So what does a wellness coach offer? The majority of our students and postgrads will be doing their own businesses. They will be seeing clients on a one-to-one session, between 30 and 90 minutes. If you look at our clinic, we tend to offer 30-minute sessions, but you can offer longer ones. Many of our postgrads offer packages, and this is also something we do in our clinic and something we would recommend, because seeing a client for one session, you are going to be able to make a few tweaks, but this is a process, particularly when working with hormones. Often hormonal change takes 3 to 6 months, and every client is unique. So you want to be able to be working with them over those 3 to 6 months. It can be longer. It can be 12 months. It can be like Claire and I, which has been about 20 years of working with our hormones. So you want to make sure that if you are going to get results with your clients, you want to be seeing them for long enough. Our postgrads also offer workshops. One of the homework that we have in our diploma is to write a talk, because it can be a really great way of growing your clinical practice. Talks and events. We have lots of postgrads who go and work at festivals, for example, which is another great way of being able to pick up clients. And a big growth area for wellness coaches is the corporate arena. More and more corporates are looking for qualified wellness coaches to be able to come in, offer talks, offer workshops, offer sessions. This is something that you can do regularly. You can get a contract that you work with a corporate business and you go in regularly to see their staff, or there can be one-offs where you're doing, say, a conference. And that can be very lucrative. So it is well worth considering. One of the areas that I particularly see is people who work in corporate environments, particularly HR, who are thinking of a changing career. This can be a really nice stepping stone, because you've got that understanding of how corporate businesses work, and then you train in wellness coaching. Being able to bring those two together can be really a powerful offering for corporate organizations. So our scope of practice, a wellness coach's scope of practice, this is incredibly important to understand where you fit. So we are very, very clear. We do not treat disease. It's a challenge for our students and our postgrads, because our clients come in and they want to talk about the illnesses and the diseases that they have. But we get very, very clear that we don't work with disease. We work with the person. We are not curing or healing disease. We are promoting wellness. So we make recommendations. We do not use the word prescribe. That is for the doctors. We are unable to diagnose. We are able to do lab tests. So we are able to find imbalances within hormones. We're able to see what's going on with gut bacteria, but we cannot diagnose. That is the job of the doctors. And we refer back to the GP if a client is looking for a diagnosis. We recommend supplements. We do not prescribe dosage. This is to keep you safe when you are recommending supplements, is that we go with the guidance that is recommended by the supplement company, so that the liability is on the supplement company. We recommend healthy lifestyle changes. So this is really, we look at every aspect of someone's life. We're looking at emotional health. We're looking at toxic chemicals. We're looking at the cosmetics in their bathrooms and the lifestyle habits that they have. We're looking at things like sleep hygiene, and we are looking at making improvements in this. And I think it is wonderful that we have such a wide toolkit, so that people who come and see a wellness coach get real value for money, because there's so much we can work with. We offer healthy eating strategies. We don't prescribe diets. That is the job of the dietitian. We're a wellness coach. Our qualification is at the level of a nutritionist, but we are working with healthy eating strategies promoting wellness. We share education. This is a really important part of our diplomas, is understanding how hormones work and how the body works. And then we share that with our students, and our students share that with their clients. We listen, we teach you how to coach. And a big, big part of coaching is to listen, and then to be able to ask questions and to provide space for our clients to process. I mean, this is something that we really see in hormone work. This is particularly something that we see in the perimenopause space, is because it is such a life change. And so there can be a lot of emotional turbulence that is coming up. And so we provide our students with the the skills and the confidence to be able to work with someone if they are going through emotional turbulence. We don't tell clients what to do. We offer options, we empower them. And if they really struggle to adopt those healthy habits, then we dive in with coaching and question asking of where that difficulty is coming from. So we are helping people to make the change in their life. I think this is another difference between us and the medical model, is that patients go to the medical model and take a pill. They're often not given the explanation of what is happening in their body. They are given the solution as take a pill and the symptoms will go away. And we work very differently. We are empowering clients and students to understand this is what's going on in my body. If I make these choices, then this is going to be the consequences of my actions. And so then we are teaching people to really look after their own health rather than giving that to someone else, such as a doctor. We empower clients to have conversations with their GPs. We often see this with our clients, is that they are almost frightened about having conversations with their GPs and being able to ask for things. And so that's a coaching opportunity that we have, is to explore the fear that people have around having those conversations with GPs. And what happens if a doctor is dismissive? How does someone work with that? How do they go back and have another conversation? We coach them to overcome problems and change unhealthy patterns, as I've said. We also have the opportunity of ordering lab tests. This is a fascinating part of our training, is we work with a great lab company who offer hundreds of different tests. We particularly specialize in the hormone tests, which is Dutch, which is your dried urine test for cortisol and hormones. And we're very interested in the gut test. So those are the stool samples. And then getting those results. What do we do with those results? How do we help our clients? What are we telling them about what's going on with their health? Do they need to be referred on to other practitioners, such as functional doctors? So you really understand where your scope of practice sits when you are coming to study a wellness diploma. And I think what's important about this is it provides real safety for the student and for the coach when they qualify, because they understand what I can do and what I can't do. Oh, why choose us? Because
We're brilliant.
we're
Brilliant. So we are accredited to the highest standards. And in fact, we have been involved with a governing body to elevate the training standards in that modality because of how well our courses were put together. So we are the gold standard and we are accredited to the highest standards.
You can see all our logos at the bottom.
All our logos at the bottom.
We do like a logo at the bottom.
In fact, the ITEC and VTCT, they were very, very clear that they only take a college if it is the gold standard for their particular modality.
And they only take us in wellness coaching. So they choose a college and that is the one that they partner with. So we were delighted with that one. And you can also see that we've got the International Institute of Complementary Therapists, which is our international accreditation, which was also, we had to jump through some real hoops to be able to get that one. We're very, very proud of our accreditations.
Really. We have this big focus on hormones and nutrition. And as Laura was saying, healthy eating strategies, food strategies, and our food strategies are targeted depending where someone is on their journey. And I do not know any other college that does that along with the hormone and the nutrition work. So we are definitely addressing healthcare gaps. We make learning fun. Laura and I have this very easy flow. So all the videos with Laura and I, we generally have a really good time when we're doing our work. And I think that comes across. We have been friends for an awfully long time. So the banter, people often say that they really love the videos because it's not dry. It's not dry learning. We are passionate about what we're talking about. And sometimes we can be quite silly. The live interactive classrooms, we have so much feedback on our classrooms. So we have a couple of different types of classrooms. There is the interactive classrooms for things like coaching skills, Q&As, mentoring on your case studies. And so you're actually getting to work live with a tutor. Sometimes that's Laura and I for things like the Q&As. And the other type of classroom we have is we do talks out on a specialist subject. And that's a little bit like you're watching here. That's Laura and I in a Zoom, and they are recorded. And we get so much feedback on both those types of classrooms. We are very proud of the teaching team that we have. They are exceptional practitioners in their own right, and extraordinary teachers. So there's huge flexibility of study. We've got some people who get through this course in 9 months and they're done and they are accredited. And we've got other people, because they have jobs and they have children, where they're 3 years in and they're just getting their case studies together. So it's entirely up to you. You also get a practical experience of coaching. And one of the reasons I love this is because I think one of the things that Laura and I found so transformative training in squillions of different modalities was when we used to show up to a classroom and, do some training in, I don't know, EFT or kinesiology, you would have to swap. So you would be getting the work done on you, which means I'm working on my health, I'm working on my stuff. What I love is that actually the practical experience of coaching in our foundation, in the coaching skills class, where you actually learn the foundations of coaching, well, you have to swap. So not only are you doing the coaching, you're also getting coached, which of course has two great purposes. Firstly, you're working on your stuff, your limiting beliefs, your imposter syndrome, anything that's coming up, your fear, all of that kind of stuff. But also you're actually seeing how someone else coaches. And, in the words of NLP, it's all about how we model behavior. So if you see someone who does something particularly well and you go, I'd never thought of that, great, that can elevate my learning. Or you might go, I didn't like the way they coach, that's definitely how I'm not going to do it. So this practical experience is super helpful, and we genuinely see people change through the training, which is very like when you do an in-person classroom for, say, a year. You change as you take on these learnings and you start to embed the changes that you are going to be coaching people on. So it's really beautiful, and this is where also you bond with other classmates. So yes, you are correspondence learning, but you're not isolated, because you have this group and this community of people who are all going through something similar. We have the stages of wellness. So we talk about this a lot in our recorded talks, but it is really common that a practitioner will just throw someone onto a detox. We understand that just starting off, for example, with a detox can just be really, really shocking for the body, and it's not the best place to start. So we actually talk about when we do certain things, at which point do we need to look at a different eating strategy? At which point do we bring in these supplements? It is literally about not just cramming everything into a session and hoping for the best. There is a process to allow the body an opportunity to get to where it's trying to go. The practitioner's toolkit. Laura writes these PowerPoints, so I don't know what you mean there. To you.
There are so many different approaches. We look at all of the, like I was saying earlier, all the stuff in your bathroom, all the stuff in your kitchen.
Oh yeah.
All of the emotional techniques, all of the nutritional approaches, these supplements, the lab kits, there's so many different things that we can. I think what is magical about our training, I think it's because we've been in clinical practice for so long, is that you do have a group of clients that you can almost get like a one-hit wonder. They start eating well, they start dealing with their stress, maybe they start taking some magnesium, and they just feel radically different. And then there's another group of clients where you're going through the process, and yes, they may be seeing improvement, but there's maybe something that they just can't get under. And so it's like no stone unturned. We keep going. And with the stages of wellness, we know that once we've done everything from our scope of practice, then it's about referring on, and that can feel very safe for us as practitioners, but also for the client, that I know what I'm going to be doing, and we're going to be exploring everything. And if I can't get underneath this, I know where to send you.
Yes, and I think that's definitely something that was missing from a variety of the trainings that we have both been through, which was you just keep battering away at it. And actually, I think there's something really great in going, this is where I've got to, but as Laura said, I now know where to send you because we have made those connections on your behalf. The other thing I want to say about the practitioner's toolkit, which I don't think we talk about very often, Laura, because our work has kind of evolved to become quite sciencey, very nutritional, quite biochemical. But actually, we've been in complementary health for 20 years. I mean, you name the hippie modality and we've studied it. And some of that has been, we've kind of lost along the way. But a lot of that we have brought into this because, as Laura said, yes, we're going to start talking about the things that are in your bathroom. This is where we start talking about clean and organic products. So if you're interested in organic beauty, clean beauty, we start talking about why and what's that about. We talk about supplementation. It's a really clinical word, but actually when you start to strip it down, we are talking about herbs. We're getting into some herbalism. We're getting into some like traditional apothecary things. So there's a lot that when you start breaking it down, we get more into the complementary aspects of healthcare as well as the scientific, the medical stuff. So if you're like, yeah, this all sounds great and all, but actually I'd much be more into some meditation and some mindfulness, we talk about where that fits because it all is important in this whole health approach. As Laura mentioned, the ability to work with lab tests, that is, we are deeply proud of that we are accredited enough for our practitioners to be able to work with lab tests, because that was a door that was closed predominantly to a lot of health coaches historically. And the lab tests that we offer are also the gold standard in the industry. I mean, Dutch testing is just a whole other level of information, and again, for people who feel that confidence is an issue for them, when you've got a lab test in front of you, and you see everything that you've been learning come to life on that page, and that lab test is actually proving to you someone's not eating enough fiber, their thyroid is struggling, they've got cortisol imbalances, they have got no progesterone, and you're literally, and they're going, I don't know what's going on. And you're sat there going, I do. And then the lab test proves it. That is absolutely phenomenal for your confidence and for your client in terms of their trust in what you are then able to recommend. And there's always the backup then that the labs that we use are so great. You can also call on their knowledge. They've got phenomenal training. So it's just the most astonishing addition to a wellness coach's practice. Our student support, we have dedicated student support administrators whose deep desire is for you to get through this course and to thrive through it and to feel supported. We also have a student community where your questions are answered, where you can touch base with other students. It's all of those reasons. That's why to choose us. And because we're really passionate about making this change in the world. We don't just want to sell courses. We want coaches out there making change because the world needs you.
One of the questions I get is all of the classrooms, because we talk about it being classrooms, but it's a online classroom. Every classroom is delivered via Zoom. So there is no having to travel anywhere. You can do this in your pajamas at home. And the other thing that I get a lot is there going to be someone that I can speak to if I get stuck? Yes, yes, yes. We've got a student manager who will look after you. We've got the online classrooms, the Zoom classrooms that you can come in and ask questions. And then we've got the forums with teachers and other students who are there to answer your questions. So this is how the diploma is broken down. We work with a sister college who provide our anatomy and physiology part of the training. It's not as interactive as our bit, but it is a necessary part of the training. And so if you have an anatomy and physiology diploma under your belt, or you have trained in, you're a nurse or something medical, then you can skip that bit. But if you are completely new to health and you know nothing about the body, it is an important module to do. And one of the recommendations that we have is that you study it alongside the other more interactive fun stuff, because it just makes it a little less dry. So the Nutrition for Health is a foundation module that it's a standalone course in its own right, and it teaches all of the foundations to do with nutrition. And so this is the vitamins, the minerals, micronutrients, macronutrients, what's going on with diets, what's going on with food intolerances, why is everybody allergic to everything, what is going on with our food chains, what are fats, what are proteins, what's going on with coffee. And so it's
what is going on with coffee, Laura?
What's going on with coffee? I mean, important questions like that. And the Nutrition for Health it's primarily online, and you've got a classroom that is attached to that you can come and ask questions, because you do have some case studies to do. There are 8 case studies to do for Nutrition for Health, and they are just looking at people's food. We're not getting involved in any of the hormone stuff at this stage, because we know that we have to get those foundations in place. We need to get you confident working with people. One of the other questions we get is, what if I haven't got any case studies? What if none of my friends and family want to? Or if I don't want to work with any of my friends and family? We've got a case study group online of members of the public who would love to be your case study. So we can absolutely help you get case studies. So that's Nutrition for Health. Then you move on to the foundation coaching. There is an online part of the training, which is the kind of nuts and bolts of how to ask a question and how to hold a session, and what if someone gets into difficulty, and what if someone is procrastinating or doesn't want to do it, and how do I get through a session of coaching. And then there are the Zoom classrooms where you come in and you practice those skills. So that is a breakout room with another student, and you coach them for 30 minutes and they coach you for 30 minutes. So that's the personal development that Claire was talking about. And the teacher is dipping in and out. They have their video turned off, so they're not just watching you, but they're dipping out, seeing how you're coaching, how you're being coached. And then there's a big hour-long debrief of what worked, what didn't, what can I do differently? I messed that up. And that's okay. We're big believers in messing it up. It's the only way that we learn, is to get stuck in practice. It's like learning a language, and you've got to make those mistakes. And so that's a really practical, safe way of practicing how to actually coach someone. Attached to the foundation coaching skills is the Reclaim Your Life personal development, 12 hours. This is looking at you as an individual. This is what is my stuff. We are big believers of work on yourself harder than you work on your clients. And if you are not dealing with your emotional baggage, if you're not dealing with your hormones and your digestive symptoms, then how are you going to be able to hold someone else through it? We also have the business part of the course, which is 30 hours. This is looking at, what is your business plan? What's your marketing plan? How are you going to go and get clients? What is your talk? What's your special subject going to be? What's your prices going to be? Who is your competition? And so this gives you the real confidence to have a plan in place for when you qualify. We're missing the big part of the wellness course, which is
the course itself. Can I just say something before we jump into that?
Yeah.
That you might have done, and you might be a PT who's done anatomy and physiology. You might already be a counsellor who does not need foundation coaching skills because you've lived and breathed this for 20 years. If you have accredited prior learning, you submit that. So this course is designed for someone to have completely be changing career and have never, ever stepped foot inside this kind of world before. So we provide everything. However, if you have got accredited prior learning, you've been running a business for 20 years, you go, I don't need a business plan. I've just sold a salon, like I'm good, thanks. Then you submit your accredited prior learning, and then you don't need to do that as part of the training. So it's not like you've got to resit something that you already know, or, you know, if you were a nurse, you would probably be able to teach the anatomy and physiology. So you don't have to do those bits. I just want to clear that bit up. But
So
yeah, we're missing the actual course. Over
the
to you
sexy
to
bit.
make it up.
The sexy bit, which is the actual wellness or the menopause wellness part, which is where we look at we do an introduction, we look at blood sugars, we look at adrenals and stress, we look at hormones, we look at digestion, we look at immune system, and we do consolidation, which is where you learn to order your lab tests. If you are doing the international diploma, you get the same information, you just have to come to more classrooms, do more homework, do more case studies. So it is not that the internationals get more information, they just have to do more hours. And this is a big question that we get a lot, is what is the homework? People are just worried about the homework. And I understand it if you've not studied for many years. The last time you were in a classroom was at school, that this is an important question to ask. So we have the monthly mentoring class, the Zoom classrooms that you come into. We've got the coaching classrooms that we've discussed. It's very case study based. We've got case studies in the nutrition module. We've got case studies in the coaching module. We've got case studies in the hormones. We want you to get as much practice as you possibly can. On top of the case studies, we also have other case studies, which is where we give you a case study and we ask you to review it. So more opportunity for review.
Case studies on case studies.
Yeah, which I think is way better than doing an exam, to be fair.
I agree. And it means, you know, when I sit down in front of a client with their health history and I've never looked at it before, that within 30 seconds, I am able to see how we're going to work. I'm able to express that. That's what we're trying to get for you. Maybe not in 30 seconds. It's going to, you know, I've been doing this for, as we said, a bajillion years. But like, that's what we're looking for is so that you can go through a health history. You know exactly where to look. You know exactly where your scope of practice fits. And you know exactly how you are able to communicate that to your client. That is why we do case study upon case study upon case study. And we bring them into the classrooms. And there are things that are online. And there's actual case studies that you submit, as many different ways as possible to really layer in that knowledge.
There's also a recipe project, which is fun, which is where you take photos of your dinner.
Let's just talk about why we do that, because we're not just asking you to do homework for the sake of doing homework. I hate doing homework, would not be asking it of you unless it had a reason. And the reason is because if you're actually recommending food strategies to people, what we wanted to do was give you a piece of homework that would have practical application. So one of the biggest wastes of your time in coaching will be if someone says, I don't know what to eat. And then you have to sit there and spend half an hour brainstorming food. If you've created a recipe project, which I believe it's 7 days of like breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the application of the tools that we've taught you, if you can just literally be able to hand that to your clients, have it as an ebook on your website or sell it, whatever you want to do with that information, you've got it there and you are able to just disperse it. So it's a way of stop it. It's like, how can we get you doing the really good stuff in coaching, which is helping to really affect change, and actually make your homework part of a living, breathing clinic?
We also have the special interest project, which is designed for you to become a specialist within this arena. So find something that you are just so excited about learning more about and get really, really stuck in. Go and look at all the research, go and look at all different sides of the story, and put together something so that you, when you become qualified, you can go out and say, my specialist subject is whatever. A good example of this is we've got a student who is doing a project on perimenopause and ADHD, because there does seem to be this correlation, and she's looking at what's the hormone interplay that's going on there, and how she can work with clients to be able to support women who are presenting with those two issues. And so it is an opportunity for you to do your own research, which we want you to become practice with anyway, because you're going to need to do that when you're a postgrad, but also to get your teeth into something.
Yeah, and this again, it's not academic research where you're necessarily having to, you know, write pages and pages of references. This is the stuff that's relevant, that again you can quote with your clients, that actually makes you be able to stand up and do a talk on this thing that people go, that person, I want to come and see that person in clinic because they know what they're talking about with this subject.
And we have the book and film reviews, which are just joyous and fun. And this is getting you to read and watch and learn, and then to be able to take that learning and apply it into your clinical practice. We also have the collaboration project, which is where you can identify other practitioners, maybe functional doctors that you would like to work with, and then reaching out to them and having those conversations about what you offer, and to see if there is an opportunity for a partnership. That we've also
other examples would be finding a kinesiologist who might do bespoke hair testing. It might be that you find if you're interested in peri to post menopause, you might even find a collaboration with a physio who specializes in pelvic health. It can genuinely be, or a PT who specializes in say chronic fatigue or hormone related training. Like, there are so many people with so many fantastic specialisms that can totally fit in with yours, that allows you to be able to create this fantastic partnership.
We also have the business homework, which is your business plan, your marketing plan, your vision board, your mission and statement. So yes, the homework is designed to be lovely and for you to enjoy, and to be super, super practical and applicable. Student support we have covered. We've got the student manager, we've got the live Zoom classrooms, we've got the community forum. You get feedback on all of your homework, so that this is really important with case studies. It's why we ask for case studies, for you not to send all your case studies in one big lump. We want it to be a staged approach, so that we can give you feedback, so that you can use that feedback to improve your case studies. We've got the buddy up system, so when you start, you will be given the contact details of another student with permission that you can reach out to, and you'll be at the same stage, and so you'll be able to work together and WhatsApp and text each other. And we've got the case study volunteer
some of
group.
the friendships that have come out of it, people that would never have, very, very unlikely, improbable that they would have met, now having really supportive friendships where they're really championing each other, and it's just glorious.
Our marvelous teaching team. There we are in our marvelous outfits. We are, all of us
not posing at all.
Oh, you've caught me. We're all experienced clinicians. We've all been in clinical practice for years and years and years, and I think that practical experience is really, really important. We are all at a minimum level 3 teacher trained. Some of us are at level 4, and our background is kinesiology, functional nutrition, naturopathic nutrition, coaching and counselling. So we've got this very wide, broad skill set, and we're all very experienced teachers in marvelous outfits.
Marvelous outfits.
Career options, another big question that I get. Like I said earlier, the majority of our postgraduates go into self-employment. They run their own clinic, they coach for a company, they do offer workshops and talks, and they work in corporate, or they decide that they want to be a blogger, influencer or YouTuber, or they do the whole thing all together. Employment, there is opportunities for coaches, consultants and managers. It is something that you can go and have a look in the job boards and go like wellness coaching and see what comes up and see what kind of qualifications are required. We have always had a clinical practice and been teachers, and that offers a very nice combination. You can teach teach courses yourself in workshops, or you can teach for a college like ours. It does give you it's just a different way of being able to communicate the information that you learn. And I think that there's nothing like knowing your subject deeply than if you have to teach it.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's some examples of menopause development managers and health and wellness consultants, and there are go and have a look at the job boards and see what's available if you would prefer to get a job rather than run your own clinical practice. So work on yourself harder than your business. We've said this. One of the recommendations we make to our students when they get into clinic is that 50% of your time you're going to be bringing the business in, and 50% of the time you're going to be delivering the business. And when that goes out, if you're spending too much time delivering the business and you're not bringing in spending enough time bringing in the business, you will feel it a few months later. So really making sure that you have that balance. Bear in mind that if you're running your own clinical coaching practice, that you're going to be needing to deal with client admin, you're going to be delivering the sessions, you're going to be doing follow-ups, you're going to be doing your own marketing, you're going to be doing your business admin and submitting your accounts, you're going to be doing your bookkeeping. So bear in mind that, yes, you want to be seeing clients, but there's this whole back end that is involved in running your own clinical practice. And so when you're coming up with your pricing, that needs to be bared in mind, that you actually have a lot of work to do behind the scenes. And so it's not just that 1 hour or 30 minutes that you're spending with your client that they are paying for. It's all the stuff in the background as well. Oh, you can do this one. What is possible?
So what is possible? So Laura mentioned coaching for another company. So we have a sister company it's an online clinic called Hormone Wellness, where we employ our coaches who have applied and want to join us. They need to be graduates and they need to have insurance and they need to be doing the training for the lab. And I think that's it, isn't it? That's all we actually need the coaches to be. And we are now working internationally. We are working with a phenomenal amount of people from a variety of different ages, genders, all sorts of different experiences around hormones. So yes, we get a lot of menopause, but we're also getting a lot of teenage girls, for example, with PCOS and all these kind of things where they're just not getting the solutions that they want with the current approaches medically. So it's a very busy and thriving clinic. We're very proud of it. We also have independent nurses who do prescribe the right HRTs or hormonal approaches for people depending on their health history. We leave that to the nurses. We just get to do the coaching, which is in all the things we've been talking about. It's in the food, the healthy eating food strategies. It's with the supplements. It's looking at the lab analysis and then coming up with the approaches to support that person. It's with some of the coaching skills. It's with some of those lifestyle changes, looking at do they need to change some of the toxic chemicals in their bathroom, for example. It's all of those aspects that our coaches are doing. And yeah, we are actively recruiting.
So I think what's lovely about going and having a look at the Hormone Wellness site is that it is a potential for you to join a clinic as a consultant, or it is a good example of what is possible. So this is, you can also create an offering similar to this. So it's a great example of what is possible with things like pricing. So you can go and have a look at the packages that we offer and the prices that we charge and the different kinds of products that we offer. And it's another example of a partnership opportunity where we have partnered with independent nurses who are coming in and offering that part which we can't. So it's one of those, go and have a look. You can also book in, come and have a session with us so you can experience what it's like to be in a session with a coach and get your own hormones in order. But it's just that for you to get that creative idea of, I too could also have a clinic like this.
Yeah, and actually, I just want to say that quite a lot of our students have come through the clinic because there is a lot of us who come to this work because we are looking to deal with our own hormonal imbalances. That's been my story for 20 years. I know it's been Laura's story for 20 years. And so a lot of the coaches are applying the tools that they're learning, but actually they want that extra pair of eyes to support them through it. So yeah, that's it's common.
So the journey to becoming a coach, you'll be studying, people ask how long the course is. It depends how much time you've got. Claire said, we've got students who have just made this their absolute focus and have got it completed in 9 months if you're on the UK diploma, more like 12 months if you're on the international. Or if you've got very, very busy life, then it can take 24 months. We recommend that you find your niche. This is part of the special interest project. As you're studying and you're doing your case studies, the more that you can niche, the better, the more successful businesses can be, because people are looking for practitioners who can specialize in an area. Then you launch your business.
You can change niche. I just want to say that you can change niche. So we did. I think we were IBS specialists for years, and then it was like we then realized that behind the IBS was hormones, and so then we ended up hormones. So it's not about oh, this is now my life. It, you know, you can evolve. It's just we're just trying to get you launched, really.
Yeah, and do allow 3 years to become established. That particularly that first year, when you are starting to see clients and you're learning what you are like as a coach, allow yourself that time. I think that it's also when coaches put a lot of pressure on themselves to have very successful businesses from the get-go. This is a learning process, and to allow yourself that time to grow into the role is recommended. Some avoiding of pitfalls. Ignore any negativity about your choice of career. We sometimes get that family members think that this is not a good idea, or, I mean, this is about understanding what is right for you and what feels right for what you want to be doing in your life. Specializing, we've just mentioned that it can really help to be unique. One of the other questions I get is, are there too many menopause coaches in the world? And we go, no, there's not enough.
No,
For the 13 million women in the UK, there is
Yeah.
not enough. But it can really help if someone is looking for a particular area within hormones for them to be able to find you. Learn how to run a business as well as how to be an excellent coach. I think that's important, and that is something that we do teach. Create and invest in partnerships, particularly with marketing. If you can get partnerships with, say, a physio who can refer their clients to you and you refer your clients to them, I think that is a wonderful way of, it was one of the ways that I launched my clinic, is that I had a really strong partnership, and she sent me all her clients. Get really good at talking about your work. It can feel a bit like imposter syndrome when you first start, and you might be worried that you're getting it wrong. But the more that you can practice talking about how hormone interplay works, the more confident you'll be in clinic, and the more confident you'll be in marketing yourself. Imposter syndrome happens to us all. And please allow yourself to be rubbish from the beginning. It is a learning pathway. You will get better. It is part of being a beginner, is that you're not meant to know it all. Have a talk or workshop that you can present easily. This is one of the homeworks that we have, and then start practicing that talk and delivering it. I remember the first time that I delivered an endocrine talk to a group of, I think it was about 12 women, and 8 of them booked into my clinic. So if you can get that talk nailed, it's a game changer for growing your clinical practice. Don't spend all your time and money on extra courses. We've seen this a lot, is that people, particularly who feel the imposter syndrome, feel that they need another one and another one and another course. I need to be more and more qualified to be able to be confident. Actually, it's working on the confidence that's the important thing. And what we're proud of with our diploma courses is that we teach you everything that you need to know to really support clients in wellness.
Do the extra courses because you want to.
Yeah.
Not because you feel you have to.
Be coached and experience what it's like. So that is either you can be a student case study, or come into a clinical practice like hormone wellness. Know your weaknesses and outsource. I mean, we've done this a lot with our businesses. Things like accounts and admin and marketing and sales. If you've got a weak spot, don't be look at doing either a skill swap or recruiting people in to support you so that you can do what you are great at, which will be the coaching side. There are no such things as mistakes. There are only learnings when you are doing something like this. So it's all about taking the learning from each time you do a case study, and what have I taken from that? How can I be better on the next one? What happens next if you are, oh my God, this sounds amazing and I just want to do it? Then decide, do you want to pay in full or do you need a payment plan? And we've got all the payment plans detailed on the website. A question I get, do you discount the diplomas? We never discount. We sometimes will do something like a January sale where you can get maybe a talk half price, but we never ever discount the diplomas. And you can enroll at any time throughout the year. We take enrollments throughout the year. We will send you an electronic agreement to sign. We will, once we get your first payment, then our support manager will organise your enrolment and give you access to the courses and book an induction call to hold your hand so that you feel really confident getting started. If you're going, I want to start, but maybe I've got more questions, or maybe I want to learn a little bit more before I do get started, you can buy taster classes on our website. So all of our monthly masterclasses we record and then we make available to buy on our website. And we also chop some of them up and put them on YouTube so that you can go and get an experience of what it's like to come and learn with us and what our approach is all about. Or if you are ready to buy, you can go onto the website, buy online, or you can email us and request an invoice. That is it.
Well, hopefully that's answered some questions.
And we look forward to you joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your time.